We would love to know what led you to this line of work and ultimately inspired you to create this type of business running it in KW.
I started practicing yoga in undergrad. I was from out west, and I found it in undergrad, and I loved it. It quickly became just a favorite part of my lifestyle and practice. And then when I wanted to do a master's degree, I moved out to Waterloo to take my master's in rhetoric communications design at the University of Waterloo. And I brought that practice with me. In the meantime, I had actually certified to become a yoga teacher, which was something that I just did mostly for fun. One of the teachers that I practiced with suggested it, and I felt like, oh, that sounds like a really cool thing to do. And I had just kind of brought it with me. I was very new to it. So over the course of doing my master's for 2 years here in Waterloo and then getting into marketing, working for a marketing agency here, I had also started teaching yoga, and it was really kind of up and coming. This was 20 years ago. So this was really kind of up and coming in the region. There weren't a lot of teachers. So I was finding that as my marketing career was growing, my yoga career was also kind of booming. And I hit a point where it was doing well enough that I could actually just take a chance on it. So I did. I thought, I'm going to jump in and just take the entrepreneurial spirit that kind of exemplifies Waterloo and give this thing a try. And that was 20 years ago this year, this June, 2006, right here in Waterloo. And I've stayed here ever since.
On what kind of gaps or challenges did you see in the market that made you feel like offering this was necessary?
When I started teaching yoga, if you can imagine, it was still a little bit fringe. You know, the most common, if I said I had practiced yoga, sometimes people would actually still say like, what's yoga? Which seems unfathomable now. Yeah, I was just like really, really loving it. And there wasn't a lot of it here. So what I found was when I showed up and I taught this particular style called Ashtanga, which most people know it as sort of like power yoga, the really vigorous athletic one. As soon as word got out that that's what I taught and I got a few clients, this is a very region of Waterloo thing, right? That it got into the pipes and people started to learn about me. And I started working with some very prominent people in town, and I started working at all of the studios, and it really just took off. So initially it was just the general need, the demand that people had to want to do this new cool thing called yoga. Over time, what I found was I not only started teaching and having private clients, but I started a yoga teacher training, which again was a very new thing back then. And not only were there not very many trainings here, I think there was maybe one other one at the time. There weren't very many trainings, period, but people were starting to look for it. And what I saw over the years with the trends of teacher training was, and this was the larger world of yoga, was that it was really being marketed to kind of 20-something thin women who had the affluence to, for example, head to Costa Rica for a couple of months in order to certify, which is great. I fit into some of those demographics, or I did at the time. It was really looking like this practice was going to be narrowed to only a certain amount of people. And only a certain amount of people were going to carry it on as teachers. And I saw a real opportunity in my classrooms, in my private practices, to open that up to a much more diverse demographic. So this is part of the reason why I decided to keep my training based in Waterloo, because it was then accessible to people here as opposed to moving it to Toronto. And I shifted it so that other people with different lifestyles could be trained and certified. So I put it on weekends so people who had full-time jobs could do it. I put it on alternating weekends so people who were shift workers or who had kids fit it into their schedule. And it really broke open the kind of people that started to be able to carry this practice forward for the future.
That's incredible. So like a really good origin story.
In my classes, I also ended up inadvertently addressing a totally different demographic, which was in 2011, I had a really debilitating back injury. So the type of yoga that I was practicing up till then, very vigorous, very acrobatic. And that back injury led to years of it making it very difficult for me to really practice that style that way. So a couple of things happened. This is on my journey to find my repair, my recovery. I discovered Dr. Stu McGill, who is a professor emeritus now at UW and is a world-leading low back pain expert. I found him and started working with him. And in fact, he came in and started teaching as part of my teacher training when I found him. But I also started to evolve my own practice to be more creative about getting around provoking my own pain. And what that led to for me was sort of falling out of the Asia as Ashtanga yoga teacher and into Asia as somebody who knows how to modify and adapt this practice for people that it wasn't necessarily accessible to physically, or that it wasn't serving physically. A lot of people find that when they start yoga, it feels great, and then they do it for a few years, and then what used to serve them has started to hurt them or injure them or aggravate things. And then they kind of hit a wall. And so what I did with my own teaching, with my own practice, was to work around that wall, to find different paths for people, which eventually led to the joint strength training certifications that I carry now, which is heal people at their deepest level, which is their joints, and then have the movement evolve out of good, healthy, clean joints underneath it. So it still feels yogic because I come from sort of a yogic origin, and I brought a lot of clients with me, and I didn't want to just like toss them into the world of joints. So I kind of like kept making it yogic, but underneath it all is really this wisdom of repairing people at the deepest sort of physical level in their joints in order to make movement much more accessible to them in their practice.
That's such a beautiful space to create here in Waterloo. What sets your program apart, and how do you approach things differently than others in the industry?
Based on the feedback that I get, and based on now 20 years of experience doing this, one of the things that actually sets my crew and myself apart is that we really enjoy it. We laugh, we have a great sort of community, and like community is such a tag word now, but I think it really does come for me from, I have clients in my membership that have done yoga with me for 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, right? I have a real good attrition in the sense that people find me and they stay with me for a long time. And we have a really good time in there, you know, like I just like to joke around. I like to keep it light. I like to keep that sort of that cool vibe in both my training and in my membership. The other thing is I really think, especially in this world of AI that's starting to emerge, and in this post-COVID world where everyone has sort of moved into a kind of independence, that connectivity is so important. So I know all of my clients. I regularly connect with my clients. I often am texting or emailing with them. When you're a member in my community, if you have a question or you want me to take a look at something that we don't have time for necessarily within the class, I just say, let's jump on Zoom and do it. Like I make myself available to my community. I think that's really valuable to them. And I know the issues they're struggling with. I work with them sort of one-on-one as much as I can while it's still being like an online membership. I think the biggest things that set what I offer apart is the personal touch, is the fact that they know they can reach out to me. Anybody who's in my membership, anybody who's ever trained with me, even if it was 15 years ago, they know they can reach out to me. They know that I'm going to be generous with my time. I'm going to make myself available to them. I'm going to give them any connection I can. Like I really am in this to support the people who come move with me and train with me. And the proof is in the pudding of that, in the fact that the people who have trained with me are very loyal and very exuberant about what a great time they had while they were in it, while they're still in it, and how much they felt supported.
At the end of the day, for any business, that type of, relationship with your client is so important, which is that space. And that, I think safety in this day and age too is really important. So to create a safe space for your clientele is incredible.
And now my membership is entirely online, and I've just as of this year moved my training entirely online. So it feels even more important to me to really divert my attention from sort of creating these big group events, which involve a lot of logistics when you're in person, as far as studio spaces and traveling and, accommodations and all of that. I put so much more of my attention into making sure that each person in there feels really seen and knows that they're supported and gets connection and contact with me when they need it.
After COVID too, it's nice to kind of be everywhere all at once, because that's what the internet is. It really just allows everybody, not even just in the region, everybody who's ever crossed paths with you, really connect.
One of the coolest things that happened when I moved my teaching online is something that's kind of unique to KW, which is that we have these two major Canadian universities here. And so a lot of my client base over the last 20 years has been a bit transient, because they would be students who would be here, they would find my classes, they love them, but then, they graduate and they move on. And once I put my classes online, I had a real influx of people from all over the place. I'm from Japan, from Mexico, from Australia, from the States, from out west, who came here for school and then left. Once I went online, they were like, oh my gosh, you were my favorite yoga teacher. I can't believe I get to practice with you again, and found me online, which I thought was really cool.
Who is this program best suited for, and what kind of transformational or results can participants realistically expect?
mean, I think what I teach is so accessible. It's good for almost anybody. It's good for anyone who has joints, which is all of us, right? If you have a low back or you have hips or you have knees or you have shoulders, right? Like that's kind of what I focus on. Taking care of and healing. More specifically than that, my membership and even my teaching are really focused on people who have started to move into this transition where you're noticing the wear and tear of time on your body. Oftentimes, a lot of people who come to me, they've watched their parents or loved ones age poorly, and they're a bit anxious about following those footsteps, and they're starting to think just a little bit more strategically about making their movement sustainable. And that's really the bedrock of what I do. Is we feel really great in the moment, but the stuff that we're doing is cumulative to help keep you active for decades. The real goal is that to just the thing that usually stops people from living the life that they love is often a joint. It's a broken knee, it's a bad back, it's a hurt shoulder. It's all of those are joints. And it just turns out that we're learning now through movement study that training your joints is different than training your muscle. We have to do it differently. And we didn't really understand that until recently. So the thing that makes what I do stand apart is that it's a legitimate way to create a sustainable practice for the rest of your life, to keep you active for all those things that you want to keep doing.
That's so important. You don't think about it until you really turn 30 and you start tracking every time over. As an active business owner in Waterloo region, how does being embedded in the local business community influence the way you design and deliver your program?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. I mean, I think that a lot of what ends up becoming sort of the Waterloo vibe is really almost absorbed ambiently. The nature of my business being as entrepreneurial and creative as it is, I think is fostered by being in a community where, you know, right across the street from me is the Perimeter Institute and nanotech and, you know, Google is here and all of these kind of very innovative companies. I give a general vibe of just try it and see if it'll work. So just the inspiration of moving all of my stuff online and trusting that would work and being able to kind of know how to make that sustainable and available. Maybe that's happening. I'm sure that's happening in lots of other places in the world, but it becomes so second nature to combine anything with tech in this community. So the idea of putting something online and still making it kind of homemade is a little bit of that mix of, you know, like a Mennonite technology blend, right? Where I want to keep it very personable. I want to keep it very human, but I'm also not afraid to blend that with a kind of technology that makes it available to everybody.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's very unique, especially seeing people start to transition their business online. Really exciting. How do you see your work contributing to the broader Waterloo business ecosystem?
At a very simple level, I think all people who work in movement feel like we are the sort of best kept secret in the back pockets of successful people. Not because what we do is exclusively what they draw on, but because being healthy, feeling good, having your health, everybody who's lost it knows this, having your health is so cornerstone to being able to optimize your own life, right? So we have a lot of high performers in this community. And I think that people who are dedicated to a good physical practice draw on people like me. My membership supports those people directly, but my teacher training, which I've now transitioned from just a purely yoga teacher training to a yoga and movement teacher training that incorporates the joint strength stuff that I do. I think that creates a unique support system, not just for the people who trains with me, but the fact that I'm putting these teachers out into this community every year. And for, you know, since 2009, 2010, when I ran my first training, I have been creating and evolving and defining in many ways what this movement community looks like here, along with everybody else who participates in that. We all built this community. I mean, being here for 20 years, like I say, I was one of maybe 4 or 5 yoga teachers when I first showed up here. And now there's a pretty strong, thriving community that got hit pretty hard through COVID and is bouncing back now. I don't have children, so this is kind of my legacy. I love the idea that I have created people who are also aware of the need to be accessible, who are also creating a diverse voice within this fitness community, who are also creating alternative narratives that don't have anything to do with, I shouldn't say not anything, but that have very much less to do with like, here's something to do so that you can focus on how you look. It's like, here's something you can do so you can focus on how you feel and what you can do. That narrative needs to change everywhere. I'm starting in Waterloo and then handing it to my graduates to take wherever they go.
It's like making a little imprint. And especially with like what you bring to your clients too, it sounds like you put a lot of energy and trust. And I think especially with movement, it impacts everybody. My grandfather used to say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
For sure.
Just looking ahead, what is next for your business? What are some exciting things, any incentives or any type of evolutions that you're just excited to talk about?
On a very pragmatic level, I am launching a mobility challenge that's starting in February. That's just 10 weeks, Saturday morning classes. They're only half an hour long classes. So they're like a really great way to get introduced to what's different about what I do. So Saturday, 8:30 to 9 a.m. for 10 weeks. And it just introduces you to how to improve the strength and mobility of every joint in your body through the process of that 10 weeks. That is something that I regularly build within my membership. I have all kinds of different content besides just the weekly classes that I offer in my membership. So that challenge is free to my members. They get to jump in and join it, and it keeps the momentum going for them. I'm always trying to think about how to keep it interesting, because the thing with sustainable movement is it's about sustainability, right? So it's about a practice, it's about a lifestyle, it's about repetition, but it doesn't have to just be about that. We can also put in stuff that's kind of fun and interesting and new in there too. As for my teacher training, as I said, I've evolved it. It's still a yoga certification program, but it's also now what I call the method design, which is this sort of joint focus training. And I've taken all of the content and put it online entirely. So it's fully DIY, it's fully accessible to anyone, anywhere. You can start it and take as long as you need to finish it. It takes a lot of the demands. Again, I feel like it's the next level of this idea of accessibility, that I've expanded it even further so that there's no sort of deadlines and timelines and you have to show up at this time and stay here for this long. One thing I've noticed post-COVID is people's attention spans are so different, and our ability to learn and focus is really different. So it was becoming harder and harder for people to kind of sit in a live session and try and keep up with the information that was coming to them. And it's also just like intimidating to people who haven't maybe been in school for a long time. The idea of kind of having to take notes and learn something really rapidly. So I've created it to be a lot more almost like a series of podcasts, but with somebody that you can access through the entire training, which is me. You can do one-on-one time with me throughout the training to have this great hybrid of being able to access the content the way that you best do. So if you need to pause it, think about it, take notes on it, get up and try something, come back, rewind it, watch it a couple of times, you can set your own pace and sort of figure it out. Well, not just being kind of left to your own devices. Like I'm there, I'm checking in with you. You get 10 hours of time with me as part of the training. So I say it as you get to do it your way without having to do it alone. And I'm really excited to have put that whole training online. And that brought down the price of it as well, because of course, then you're not spending for 200 hours of live time with me in a physical space. Further just continues to make it accessible. I want to still see people taking this training and bringing it into their own communities and having it as an option. Economically, you can have this as a great side hustle, or you can do what I did and kind of just take a chance on it and be like, maybe this will work as a full career. I mean, it's supported me very well for 20 years. Learn from somebody who's done it.
Where can people find you?
The best place to find good information about what I offer is my website, which is super old school, I know, but I'm hoping to bring websites back because I find social really, really flooded, and I'm finding a lot of people are trying to find other ways to connect and find their information outside of that space. So my website, themovementlife.com, has everything that you would want to know about what I do and how to sign up, and it's all available there. And me. Like you can reach me directly through social at The Movement Life. You can reach me on that website. You can just message me, and I'm very accessible, and I'm always happy to either email or text with you or just jump on a call and talk about your goals, your dreams, what your best fit is. Even if you're looking to just do a couple of weekly classes or you're looking to create a career change, just get a hold of me and let's chat, because my legacy is your legacy.
But yeah, that's pretty much concludes everything. So glad to meet you, Asia. It comes out on the 30th.